don't have any friends. Nobody likes you.
Not listening. Not listening.
Trump has hit all new lows, which is hard to do for a man with a rap sheet longer than his McDonald's order. I'm sure Trump is pounding back a comfort Filet-O-Fish right now, because these new approval numbers have Trump underground like he's Jeffrey Epstein. And y'all, it's not just Trump who's in deep shit, it's all of them. JD Vance is losing his edge, the Republicans are fracturing, and MAGA is drying up. It is a good day to be a Democrat. I've got loads of wonderful bad news for MAGA to show you, so hit subscribe and let's jump right into it. In another stunning example of fuck around and find out, the maggots who are turning against Trump right now are the folks who foolishly thought that Trump was going to make them rich like he is. Here's reporting from Macon Telegraph. President Donald Trump has a net approval rating of -28 among voters who earned under $50,000, with 34% approving and 62% disapproving. That's according to The Economist and YouGov. Trump's especially weak standing with lower-income voters reflects a growing perception that his economic promises haven't translated into real-life relief from rising everyday costs. Losing working-class voters is devastating for Trump, as white, non-college educated folks who tend to make under $100,000 have been Trump's most reliable voting bloc. But now, the only president that's as unpopular as Donald Trump is Richard Nixon.
I mean, it's a disaster if it holds towards the midterm elections. And I should note, of course, it's not alone. I mean, just take a look here. This is Gallup. This is the longest running poll. You know, Gallup has been conducting polls since my father was a kid. And my father was born in 1927, had me in the 60s. Look at this in January. Donald Trump's net approval rating, not too bad, not too great. It was at -1 point, right within the margin of error, breaking even. But look at this now. -24 points, way down. We're talking about a drop of over 20 points in the wrong direction for the President of the United States. -24 points, that's a 23-point move in the incorrect direction if you're the president. And of course, what's so important here, Sarah Seidner, is it matches the trend that we've seen with other polls, that is Donald Trump hitting his low for the second term. I was doing the count last night. I think we're up to 10 polls in sort of the last 40 days, 10 different pollsters who have said that Trump is at the lowest point he is in his second term.
So how does this compare to other presidents in their second term at this point in time?
Yeah, okay. So, you know, this is one of these great examples where I kind of run out of room on the slide.
You
so
sure
I just
did.
Yeah, I run out of room on the slide. So I just put up the Republican presidents. But look, the only one who's worse for me, either among Republicans or Democrats at this point in his second term, is Richard Nixon. And of course, Richard Nixon had to wave adios amigos goodbye less than a year after this poll was taken. He was at -36 points. Trump at -24 points. That beats, or is worse, I should say, beats in the wrong direction. George W. Bush, -19 points. His Republican Party, of course, suffered major losses in the 2006 midterm elections. Dwight Eisenhower, +31 points. Donald Trump has never smelt that at all. I had to go into the archives to dig up that photo. And Ronald Reagan at +41 points. But again, it also is worse than Harry S. Truman. It's worse than Lyndon Baines Johnson. It's worse than Barack Obama. It's worse than Bill Clinton. Anywhere you look, this is the second worst for a president of either party at this point in their second term, dating all the way back since the 1940s.
Wow. All right.
Folks, the blue wave that's going to come in the midterms is going to knock over the GOP, maybe for good. And the hilarious part is that Trump seems to be taking the whole ship down with him. Since JD Vance is tied to Trump, his approval numbers are also tanking along with Dumpy Dawn. In a survey conducted to determine the Republican frontrunners for 2028, Vance is starting to lose his lead over Trump Jr., which is sort of like losing a job promotion to a coked-up sewer rat. Vance led by 20 points in August, but by about 10 points in November. But folks, the fun doesn't stop at JD Vance. The entire Republican Party is facing massive backlash to the rampant Trumpism that they've wrapped themselves in since 2016. Here's an article from Newsweek, 5 polls that spell trouble for Donald Trump and the Republicans. Number 1, a Politico poll showing Trump's fragmented coalition. Over 1/3 of Trump's 2024 voters do not identify as MAGA Republicans, according to a Politico poll. These voters are less likely to support GOP candidates down ballot and are increasingly critical of Trump's handling of the economy and cost of living. MAGA is fracturing itself from the GOP in the most visceral way. With the departure of Marjorie Gann Green, MAGA is starting to lose their most vocal advocates, and as a result, are losing faith in Trump. That is going to have devastating implications in deep red states that were once considered safe districts for the Republicans. Here's the Emerson College The Hill poll, Deep Red Seats in Trouble. The poll shows that the race in Tennessee's 7th Congressional District, where Trump won by 22 points in 2024, has narrowed to a statistical tie. Democrat Afton Bain trails her Republican opponent, Matt Van Epps, by just 2 percentage points within the margin of error. And remember, Trump didn't just win because of his staunch MAGA Republican supporters. He won because he managed to trick huge swaths of historically Democratic voters like Latinos and Arab Americans to vote for him instead. He leveraged frustrations around immigration and Gaza to present himself as a populist and as a peaceful dove, successfully convincing enough people to tip the scales in his favor. But with the continued genocide in Gaza and the obviously inhumane domestic immigration policy, the red veil has been lifted from these guys' eyes, apparently. If you ask me, the grift is obvious, but maybe we're just more politically checked in. Here's the Pew Research Center poll. Hispanic voters' discontent increases over immigration concerns. The recent poll indicates that 2/3 of historic adults disapprove of Trump's handling of immigration, and 61% say his economic policies have worsened their conditions. Although Trump gained Hispanic voters in 2024, these polls show eroding support. Just 25% of Hispanic adults now hold a favorable opinion, down from 44% before he began his second term. It's just like George Bush once said, "Fool me once, can't get fooled again." Although we are talking about Trump voters here, people stupid enough to put their money where their vote is and have subsequently lost everything. Trump's many scams revolve around preying on his most loyal fans, and that includes his many publicly available assets like crypto and stock in his media company, which is absolutely crumbling, sort of like that casino of his, and the university, and the stakes, and the watches, and the phones, and on and on and on and on. Here's the headline from the Inquisitor: Trump-tied investments nosedive, wiping out the MAGA faithfuls' wallets. This tweet by Scooter Trash explains, if you bought Trump stock in January, you've lost 3 times your investment. But don't worry, you can buy more when your Doge check shows up. Trump Media and Technology Group, DJT, reported a $54 million quarterly loss for Q3 of 2025, despite assets growing to $3.1 billion and improved operational cash flow. Here's back to the Inquisitor's reporting. The idea behind all of these bets was simple. If Trump won, then Trump-aligned assets would surge. Traders, influencers, and everyday supporters poured money into DJT, novelty coins, and companies they assumed would thrive under Trump's second term, like healthcare firms and private prison operators. A year into his presidency, that theory hasn't held up. Some of those sectors have lagged, and the Trump-branded plays have badly trailed the market. It turns out, the people who were stupid enough to believe that Trump would be a good president were also stupid enough to think that he would be a good investment. If you aren't a billionaire, a head of state, or a porn star, then Trump is not interested in doing anything for you but take your money. And for whatever reason, these idiots just keep giving it to him, no matter how many times he burns them. But soon, there won't be anyone else left to burn but himself. And boy, are we going to have a field day here at Really American, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. I'm Tony Hinderman, and I'll catch you next time.